So are EVs actually going to happen or not? In the immortal words of Regina George, stop trying to make EVs happen. EVs aren't going to happen. Well, here's the thing. For the last several years, you've seen automakers, governments, all kind of influencers trying to push electric vehicles. It may be that the push for EVs have hit the wall. Let's take a look at a couple examples from just this week. This all happened this week. Automakers have high hopes for EVs. Buyers aren't cooperating. Sales growth has slowed in the US. Car companies are finding a limited pool of consumers for EVs. Now, in the headline from the Wall Street Journal, it says it's because they're not willing to pay more. There may be more to it than that. It may not have anything to do with paying more, because people pay more for cars that they really want all the time. This is what supports that theory. Half of EV owners will go back to gas vehicles. So they did a survey of people who are current EV owners. In a seemingly bizarre yet tragic twist, a new study says that EV owners, after purchasing an electric vehicle, half will go back to combustion engine vehicles at the replacement or second vehicle. Well, it's not necessarily that bizarre or tragic, because people don't want them. They tried it out. It was a novelty. Okay, EVs, kind of cool, kind of cute, kind of hip thing to do. But it's like any other fad or trend. If it doesn't add value to your life, you're not going to keep it. So half the people, now this is with the exception of Tesla, but most people don't want an EV. What is this happening? Auto Giant pulls the plug on this new vehicle line. It's looking more and more like the demand for electric vehicle trucks isn't as high as automakers thought. General Motors closed a plant. Decision to close a Michigan-based Orion assembly plant, putting a stop to the automaker's plans to repurpose the plant for EV trucks. So it's not just a idea of paying more money. It's the idea that half the people don't want them and nobody wants trucks. This doesn't even count the fact that there's a very serious objection to electric vehicles because of another issue that's invisible that most people don't even know about. It's not the reason people aren't buying them. This is an opinion piece, granted, from the Telegraph, that says put a stop to electric vehicles before someone gets hurt. What are we talking about? That sounds kind of ominous. It has to do with fires. And there's some facts in this article which are very important to be aware of with fires. First it talks about a couple ships that caught on fire that were carrying electric vehicles. Ship caught on fire in the North Sea. Batteries and EVs overheated. All the cars were washed to remove chemicals because the EV batteries are very toxic. One charred vehicle that was underwater reignited as it were lowered into the water. I mean, it's fascinating to know that a car could be underwater, take it out, and it catches on fire again. Another one was at a airport parking garage. The fire started and canceled 125 flights because a huge fire which started on level 3 of the parking lot. The cause of the fire originally was said to believe to be a diesel vehicle, but there's some photos where somebody took some pictures and showed that it was an electric vehicle, a Range Rover Evoque, looked like. That's where the fire started, under the front seat, which is where the battery is. And also noted there were not any thick black smoke. It was just bright, hot fire, which is what comes from batteries. Experts seem to agree with this. Firefighters have been warning that electric vehicle fires are very difficult to put out. In fact, there are some calls for parking garages to be redesigned and even parking spaces to be made wider so a fire in one vehicle doesn't catch to the one next door. And they even asked a professor at the University of Oxford He holds the chair in inorganic chemistry. He says that there's a real danger posed to the public and emergency services by lithium-ion batteries. We'll get to lithium-ion in a second. The person who invented lithium-ion batteries, John B. Goodenough, the father of the lithium battery, says the lithium-ion batteries in electric vehicles can develop unstoppable thermal runaway fires which burn uncontrollably. Intense heat, toxic gases. The emissions of these gases can be larger of a threat than the heat. Here's a picture of a boat on fire. These are not normal fires. They are triggered and fueled by an internal chemical reaction, not by catching it on fire with a match. Can continue without a supply of oxygen and no visible flame. So it's not like you just spray a hose on it and it goes out. The amount of energy stored in batteries is huge. It looks like a small battery, but the amount of energy in it is very dense. They're bigger to put out. One fire brigade used 20,000 gallons of water to bring a single electric vehicle fire under control. Imagine if an EV were to self-combust in, and this is in England, the English Channel, the tunnel underneath, an underground parking garage, or the garage next to your house. They even claim that government statements that they're not dangerous has a clear feeling that any fatalities, injuries, or damage are seen as acceptable collateral damage for a transition to a renewable energy future. Ironically, the father of lithium batteries saw this. When Professor Edwards was working with Professor Goodenough, he said, "I wonder whether safety issues with lithium-ion might preclude the battery's widespread adoption." So he knew this ahead of time. And the punchline to the story is the father of lithium batteries said he didn't think a mass rollout was wise because of the considerable fire hazard. So it's unknown if this has been baked into the decision to try to push it, but there's also some objections to the mandate and the rollout. In the US, the Biden administration is facing pressure to drop electric vehicle mandate regulations. It's alarming. So they're pushing for more regulations and more mandates. I know you have an opinion about this. Let us know in the comments below what you think about electric vehicles. Should they be required? Should they be rolled out as fast as they are? And if so, what is being considered to mitigate the risk? Now, this is lithium-ion batteries. Maybe there's another type of battery that may not have these fire dangers, but it doesn't change the fact that the public isn't buying electric vehicles, and it has nothing to do with battery fires because people don't really know about the battery fires. They don't care about it. And according to the article, buyers aren't cooperating with electric vehicle sales. Putting all that together, you have an opinion. Let's see what it is.